Papa him mama, papa him mama, mama, papa him mama.
Welcome back to Rod's Radios. Here on the bench today I have a huge radio. It's an old Pi model A39J/H and it was manufactured in 1950. So it's getting on for 76 years old now at this stage. It's an AM only band radio because that's all we had in Ireland at that stage. VHF or FM didn't come in until the 60s. So I'm going to have a look at it today. Apparently it's working. The guy who gave it to me, and he says you can have it because it was too big for his house. It was taking over the place, and it certainly does. It's not only big in size, it weighs a ton. But it is an AM only radio, as I've said. It has 11 wave bands on it, so it was quite a comprehensive radio for its time. So we're going to have a look at it. Apparently he says it is working in a fashion. I noticed there's no plug on the back of it, so I don't think it's been used for some time. But we'll take a look at it. I'll turn it around the back and we'll have a look inside and see what awaits us. But before we do that, let's have a look at the front of the cabinet, which by the way is in very good condition. There's very few scrapes and scuffs on it, but nothing that can't be attended to. And the set itself has 4 controls across the bottom, as you can see. The one on the left here is a multifunction tone control, and it has 7 settings on it. 4 are for the radio, 2 are for a gram input if you wanted to connect a record player into this set, and the 7th is the off position, so you switch the set on from this control. The next one on the left then is the volume control. Then we've got the tuning control that adjusts the needle up and down the dial, and finally the waveband switch itself, of which there are 11 settings on this radio. There are 11 wavebands on it, so it's a very comprehensive AM radio. Let's have a look around the back. And the first thing I noticed looking at the back of this set is an odd switch that someone has put on the back of the radio here. It's pretty loose as well. I hope it's not a replacement for a faulty on-off switch, because if that's the case, it might be a little bit tricky to fix. So let's get the back off. It's only held in place by a screw here. And it should yank out. With a bit of luck, here we go. And here is this switch hanging loosely, and in fact all it does is switch off the loudspeaker, so that's not too bad. Hopefully the on-off switch itself is okay. So somebody obviously attached this switch onto the back at some stage of its history in order to disconnect the internal speaker. And presumably they had an external loudspeaker, because there's sockets here on the back for that purpose, to allow an external loudspeaker, maybe in another room of the house, to be switched on. Other than that, the radio looks intact, and the owner did say that this radio was working, so it looks like all the valves are here in place in one piece. So the next thing is to get the chassis out and have a closer look again underneath, maybe this time. With the chassis out of the cabinet and on the bench, looking underneath, I can see that this is all virgin territory. It doesn't look as though this radio has been touched since the day it was born, because all the components underneath look absolutely as part of the original setup. There's a mixture of resistors of these dog bone types and the other types, the more modern, slightly more modern types. But other than that, there's a lot of paper capacitors in here, and they will need to be changed because they certainly will have changed value in the 76 years of its history. Also, of course, the electrolytics, the HT smoothing capacitor over here on the right-hand side. And I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrolytics apart from that. They'll all need to be replaced as well. But before I do any of that, let's turn it back up, plug it in, and see if we can get any reception at all. Switching on, there appeared no radio crackle or reception when I connected a wire to the aerial socket, but when I bypassed the RF stage and connected to the grid of the mixer oscillator valve, the radio responded with a noisy Radio 4 long wave.
To ensure that they will be doing everything they can to...
Now, this is as much as I would expect here in Ireland, in the garage of the house here. So there's a problem in the RF stage of this radio, and this centres around the first valve in the chain on the circuit diagram. It's an EF39. This is the valve, the EF39, around which this radio doesn't seem to be working. Because when I connect the wire to the aerial through this valve, no reception. Yet when I bypass it and go to the next stage, the mixer oscillator, onto the grid at the top here, the radio sprang into life. So there's something going wrong around here. And when I checked the radio, having been left on for some time, I discovered that this valve was stone cold. So obviously the heater isn't working in this valve for some reason. And when I took it out and measured for continuity, it measured fine. And in fact, I substituted another valve and got the same results, stone cold. So this is strange. And when I took the valve out and measured the voltage coming out of the pins of the socket, I got the normal 6.3 volt. So there's something odd going on around here, and it needs more investigation. By now, the only thing I could think of causing this problem was a faulty valve base. So I extracted it by drilling out the rivets holding it in place and desoldering all the wires underneath. And here you can see where the socket at pin 7, that is one of the heater connections, is broken. Now luckily I had another base that I'd salvaged from another chassis. So this was reinstalled in place of the faulty one. And now the valve is heating up and conducting, and reception, though not much better, is now coming through the aerial socket. At this stage, it's time to replace all the old paper capacitors and electrolytics in this grand old radio. This will take some time, so I'll come back when this is completed.
72 hours later.
The recapping has now been done, and here you can see the casualty list that came out. And when I was doing the recapping, I had to leave some of the original components in place because they were just too hard to get at. So of course I disconnected them, but you can see here some of the old metal electrolytics are still lurking at the base of the chassis. With the recapping done, the radio is working quite well now. However, as I mentioned earlier, reception here in Ireland is virtually non-existent in terms of AM reception anyway, which is what this radio is. So, what am I going to do with this? I can get Radio 4 long wave from the UK.
So, you get to play with those guns.
As you can hear here. However, other than that, there's very little to listen to. So what am I going to do?
Oh, God, what are we going to do?
Don't worry, Mr. B. I have a cunning plan to solve the problem.
So what I'm going to do is to convert this radio into a VHF FM radio. And I'll do that by adding this little module onto the chassis of the radio. This is an FM tuner module, and it ties into the existing tuning capacitor of the old radio here to give VHF FM channels, of which there are plenty here in Ireland. So this radio is going to be useful from now on, and we'll see how this turns out. I'll come back when I've fitted the module onto the chassis. The little module is now in place, so it's just a matter of programming it with the push button on the top here. I'll do that and then we'll have a listen. Here we go.
But he's been picked up by Ryan O'Toole here, so it's a good battle, and he's opening fifth.
Football lead, Waterford will look to get there.
But our destination can.
Hear the boats go by.
Love own Sklant, Kyle Quinn.
under that ball there, missed bounce.
It's your time. My brother, those days.
In the year, Michigan or
Creek. Although
So I see you get the idea. Loads of stations on FM VHF. So this one is a winner. So now it's time to clean up the rest of the chassis before I put it back into the cabinet. But talking of the cabinet, that needs a little bit of fettling as well. I started off on the cabinet by rubbing it down with fine wire wool, after which I applied a coat of furniture restorer for dark wood that went some of the way to disguise the scratches and marks. Then I used some car wax that I had to give a shiny finish to this tired old cabinet. The speaker grill was looking a bit sad, so a quick spray coat of gold paint made it look like new again. Everything fitted back into the cabinet and I thought that this was the job nearly finished. But oh, how wrong I was. The sound seemed somewhat distorted, which was odd as it was perfect out in the workshop. The only difference was that there I was connecting it up to the workbench speakers. So the only thing to do was once again remove everything from the cabinet and check the speaker. This was the source of the distortion. The voice coil of the loudspeaker is rubbing against the gap between the magnet and the core. And if you listen very carefully, you'll hear what I mean. The nearest thing I have to the old speaker is this yoke. This came out of another old radio some time ago. So I'll have to adapt it to fit into the same space as the original one. Lengthwise it's about the same, but widthwise it's a lot narrower. So I'll make a template out of plywood to accommodate this one. And here's the plywood adapter to allow the new speaker fit into the old cabinet. With everything reassembled, I listened and everything seemed perfect again. Not for long. It worked for about 20 minutes, after which the mains transformer broke down and overheated with hot wax flowing out of the windings. Yikes. Once again, chassis out, back onto the bench to check it, and indeed it was the transformer breaking down when full mains voltage was applied via the dim bulb. Here's the culprit. The shock of working again after so many years proved too much. So luckily I had another transformer from an old Philips radio that I adapted to fit in place of the faulty one. And now, at long last, this radio with FM reception is working beautifully. So that's it from this project. It got quite complicated, but resulted in a useful radio that otherwise would have ended up in the dump. If you have got this far, many thanks for watching.